They say that when life begins to slip quietly toward its end, the things that mattered most become painfully clear. And yet, by then it's often too late to go back, too late to change, too late to say what was left unsaid. In quiet hospital rooms, in late-night whispers between breaths, many seniors, even the strongest, even those who seemed at peace, have confessed regrets. And these regrets are not about missed opportunities to make more money, buy more things, or chase after youth. No, they're deeper, more human, more haunting. If you're over 60, this message isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to wake something up inside you, because you still have time. Time to live more fully, time to love more bravely, time to choose differently. So what do people who are nearing the end of their lives most often wish they had done differently? Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Helen, 81 years old, soft-spoken with silver curls and eyes that still sparkled when she smiled. She had raised 3 children, buried her husband too soon, and spent her last years in a modest, assisted living home. On her final morning, as the nurse held her hand, she whispered one sentence that still echoes in my heart. "I wish I had let myself be happier." You see, Helen had always done what was expected. She worked hard, worried often, and rarely allowed herself joy that didn't come with permission. And though she had love in her life, she had postponed her own peace, always thinking it would come later, after the next responsibility, the next crisis, the next someday. Her words are not unique. Over and over, nurses, caregivers, and even family members hear these quiet confessions. "I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I had told the truth more often. I wish I hadn't tried so hard to please everyone. I wish I'd stayed in touch. I wish I'd let go of anger." They come not as dramatic speeches, but as soft, aching realizations. And that's why this video exists, not to depress, not to dramatize, but to pass on 5 quiet truths that could gently change the way you live from this day forward. Because what the dying regret most are often the very things we still have time to change. Before we go further, I want to ask you something important. If you've ever sat alone late at night thinking about a choice you didn't make, a conversation you avoided, or a part of yourself you silenced, this video is for you. And if you know someone you care about who's entering their later years, please share this with them. Sometimes a small story is all it takes to spark a bigger transformation. Now let's walk through what so many wish they had done and what we still can. It begins with this: many of us spend a lifetime trying to be someone the world will approve of, and in the process, we forget how to be ourselves. There's a man named Robert who comes to mind. He had been a high school principal for nearly 30 years, respected, polished, always composed. But in the last few weeks of his life, he confided something deeply personal. He had wanted to be an artist, not just in retirement, not just as a hobby. He had wanted to sketch, to paint, to pour his soul into canvases, but he never did. "I thought it was foolish," he said. "I thought it wouldn't make sense to anyone, so I buried it." And there it was, that old wound, the part of us that never got to breathe. If you're still watching, let me gently say this. You don't need permission to be who you are. Not now, not anymore. You've earned the right to live fully, not just out of habit or duty, but out of truth. You may have decades ahead, or maybe just a few precious years, but either way, it's never too late to return to yourself. That leads us to a quiet but powerful realization that hits many people near the end. We waited too long to say "I love you," or worse, we assumed others already knew. Take the story of Mr. Ellis, a retired train engineer who hadn't seen his daughter in 7 years. Their relationship had quietly faded after a misunderstanding that neither had the courage to revisit. On his final week, he finally asked someone to help him call her. He didn't ask to talk about the past. He simply said, "Tell her I miss her." Why do we let so much go unsaid? Is it pride, fear, a belief that there will always be more time? If you're still with me, perhaps this is your moment to send a message, a real one from the heart. Maybe it's a call, maybe it's a letter, maybe it's sitting beside someone and holding their hand even in silence. The truth is, people rarely regret the love they gave. They regret the love they withheld. We'll continue with the next stories in a moment. But first, if something you've heard so far has stirred a memory or touched a nerve, please take a second to like this video or share it with someone you love. You never know whose life it might change. There's a kind of silence that follows missed moments. It doesn't shout, it doesn't cry. It just lingers quietly, like a room that was never entered or a memory that never got made. So many older adults reflect on those missed moments with a subtle ache. Not because their lives weren't full in some ways, but because they were always waiting for the right time to really live, to take that trip, to write that book, to have that difficult but needed conversation, to tell someone they forgave them or to forgive themselves. I remember the story of Lillian, 78, a former nurse who spent her entire adult life taking care of others. She was practical, organized, and dependable to everyone around her. But when she spoke with her granddaughter during her last few days, she said something that stopped me. I spent so much time making sure everyone else was okay. I never asked myself what I needed. And now I wonder what kind of life I would have had if I did. We're taught that sacrifice is noble, and it can be, but somewhere along the way, many people, especially women, especially mothers, start living only for others. They become the background characters in their own stories. And when the end comes close, they realize they never got to be the main character, not even once. So let me ask you, have you been waiting to live for yourself? Waiting until the kids are settled, until the house is sold, until the health improves? What if now, not someday, is when your life wants to begin again? The third regret that often emerges in the quietest hours is this: I cared too much about what people thought. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Imagine a whole life shaped around someone else's opinion, a parent's, a spouse's, a society's, the clothes you wore, the dreams you didn't chase, the words you swallowed, the truth you edited, all because you didn't want to disappoint someone or be seen as too much, too sensitive, too different. One man, Harold, shared how he had always loved poetry, but when he was 12, a classmate laughed at one of his verses. So he stopped. For 67 years, he didn't write another word. Not until he was bedridden, when a volunteer brought him a notebook and pen. In the last 3 weeks of his life, he wrote 27 poems. It felt like breathing again. He said, "We cannot go back and change childhood wounds, but we can choose now, right now, to stop letting other people's old voices echo in our decisions." You don't need their approval to be whole. You only need your own quiet, honest yes. And if you're still watching this, maybe part of you knows that already. If so, let this be your sign. Not from a stranger on the internet, but from your own heart. You are allowed to choose joy. You are allowed to stop explaining. You are allowed to be more than someone's expectation. Let me pause for just a moment and remind you, if any of these stories or reflections have moved you, don't keep them to yourself. Share this video, share the message. It might be the gentle wake-up someone you love has been quietly needing. Now, the fourth regret, and this one, it cuts deeper than most. Many people reach their final days and realize they lived a life of constant busyness, but never stillness. They chased deadlines, obligations, responsibilities, yet rarely stopped to truly be present. They were always rushing to the next thing, while life, the real, beautiful, ordinary life, passed quietly beside them. Susan, a former attorney, said, "I can't remember the last time I sat in the garden just to enjoy it. I always brought my phone, or my to-do list, or my worries, but never just my self-presence." It sounds so simple, so small, but it's everything. We remember the laughter of a grandchild, the way the sunlight touched a loved one's hair, the smell of coffee in the quiet morning. These are the moments that matter most, and they cost nothing. But if we're not careful, they slip away unnoticed, replaced by emails, errands, and noise. So ask yourself, have you truly felt today? Have you looked someone in the eyes and truly listened? Have you stepped outside just to breathe? It's never too late to return to the moment in front of you. And finally, the last regret I want to share today is not about what someone did, but about what they didn't say. So many people reach the end and realize they didn't speak from their heart. They held back their gratitude, their apologies, their affection, because they didn't want to seem weak or emotional or awkward. But the truth is, we remember the words that made us feel loved. We remember the ones that healed something broken inside us. And we also remember the silence that left us wondering. Speak your heart, even if your voice trembles. If you're still watching, maybe it's time to write that letter to say thank you, or I'm sorry, or I forgive you, or simply I love you. It might change nothing on the outside, but on the inside, it might change everything. As we come to the close of this journey, I want to leave you not with a list of regrets, but with a quiet invitation, a gentle call to live more deeply, to feel more fully, and to love without holding back. Because here's the truth that many realize too late. Life is not measured by how much we did, how fast we moved, or how well we were perceived by others. It's measured by how much we were present with ourselves, with those we love, and with the moments that asked us to be real. A man named Thomas once said, "Near the very end, I wish I'd treated every ordinary day like a gift instead of a task." That stayed with me because it's easy to forget, isn't it? That today, even with its aches, its slowness, its imperfections, is still a day that someone else would give anything to have. You may be watching this from a small kitchen with your morning tea, or maybe from a hospital bed, or from a cozy chair with the sunlight on your lap. Wherever you are and however your life looks today, it's not too late to live with intention, to choose peace over pressure, connection over perfection, truth over pretending. And maybe you needed this reminder, or maybe someone close to you does. So if this video has touched something in you, please pass it on to a friend, a sibling, a neighbor, a grandchild. Let these stories reach the hearts they were meant to, because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply remind each other what really matters while we still have the chance to live it. If you're still here, I want to thank you, not just for watching, but for opening your heart, for being willing to reflect, for being willing to grow even now. And before we part ways, let me offer you this. You are not too old to dream. You are not too late to change. You are not too far gone to begin again. Every breath is another invitation to come home to yourself. So take it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for someday. Let go of the need to have it all figured out. Instead, live this day, just this one, with more softness, more awareness, and more love. Because when the end finally comes and your story is being remembered, let it be said that you lived fully loved, bravely, and left nothing unspoken. Thank you for walking this path with me today. If this video gave you something meaningful, I invite you to share it. Not for numbers, not for likes, but because someone else out there might be carrying one of these regrets in silence. And maybe your share will help lift that weight from their shoulders too. Until next time, may your days be light, your heart be open, and your time be truly yours.